Hello everyone, it's Lexi, and today I'm going to show you a tie-dyeing technique that I just learned called ice dyeing. We're going to be using these fabric dyes, a new white t-shirt, and I recommend that you get gloves for the dye because it can get on your hands and stain them while you're doing your tie-dyeing. For my tie-dyeing today, I'm going to be using this gray bin and a wire rack. You can also do this inside of your tub, but the wire rack is going to be important so that your shirt doesn't sit in the melted water from your ice. Your first step is going to be to wash your shirt with some kind of mild soap. I'm going to use dish soap, but you can also use a kind of mild detergent, just whatever you have. Once your shirt has been washed, you're going to soak the shirt in white vinegar, like what I have here. If your shirt is going to be dyed using an actual tie-dye, you might not need to do this step, but since we are using a fabric dye, we have to soak it in the white vinegar so that the dye sets in. Just look on the instructions of your chosen dye and it'll tell you whether you need to do this step or not. After your shirt has set in the vinegar for 5 minutes, it's time to start the dyeing process. So first you're going to set your wire rack into your tub and then arrange the shirt however you want. I just kind of scrunched mine up so it sits on top of the rack, but you can also use the rubber bands. You can do the designs that people do in their regular tie-dye, just however you want. Now is the time to start putting your ice on the shirt. You just want to make sure that the whole shirt is covered in the ice so that when it melts, it makes the watercolor effect for the dye. Once you have your ice situated the way you want, it's time to start using the dye. Since I just want to sprinkle it everywhere, I cut small holes in the corner of my dye packets and just started placing it on the ice. You can use however much or little of it that you want, depending on what you want your design to look like and how much white space you want. I'm going for a full color, so I used a lot of the crystals, the dye crystals on there so that it'll cover more of the shirt once the ice melts. You can already kind of see where the dye is hitting the shirts around the ice, and so those spots will probably be a little darker. If you want dark spots, you place a lot in one spot like what I just did there. And if you want to keep it a lighter color, then you'll go with a light sprinkling of it. Here's what it looks like so far when I've finished placing the dye on the ice. So we're going to let this sit so that the ice will melt and get the dye onto the shirt. It'll probably take quite a few hours, so I will show you what it looks like once the ice is melted and what to do afterwards. Okay, so here's what the shirt looks like after the ice has melted. You can see the big splotches of color and where it's a little lighter where there was less of the dye crystals. I think this is going to look very cool once it's completely done. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it into a plastic bag to sit overnight so that the dye has a chance to fully sink into the shirt and kind of set into the fabric. Now that it has set overnight, it's time to take it out of the bag and see what it looks like fully. There's still some white spots on it from where it had been scrunched up, so it adds a nice contrast, but those might go away once I rinse out the dye because the dye will run. So your next step is to go and rinse your shirt in cold water. I recommend doing this in your bathtub so that it doesn't make a mess in your sink. And I will show you what it looks like afterwards. Here is what the shirt looks like after being rinsed off. As you can see, the dye did run and cover up some of those white spots and make them a little lighter. The ice dyeing gives it a cool watercolor effect that you don't always get with regular tie-dye. When you go to wash this shirt, I recommend washing it by itself for the first couple washes just to make sure that no extra dye gets on any other clothes. I hope you guys like this, and I hope you get to make you some cool tie-dye shirts. See you next time.